Hello my friends, today I'm going to share my thoughts on this new plugin I just got called BBC Symphony Orchestra Piano, and you can hear it in the background right now and see the interface here on the screen. So the main advantage is that this is part of the BBC Symphony Orchestra, so it loads in the same plugin and it blends very well together because it is recorded in the same room, and also that means as well that it is very well volume balanced. So the tone, the room and the volume balanced, that is the short answer to why you should care about the BBC Symphony Orchestra Piano. Now let me demonstrate what I have written and show you in action this plugin. Okay, so to demonstrate this, I actually used the BBC Symphony Orchestra. I have the core version already. I bought it when it came out, like 4 years ago. And finally, we now have the piano recorded in the same room. So as you can see, if I click here, you now have piano in the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin. And I got the core version, which means I don't even have to care about the mix, because it will blend seamlessly together. Now, I will also demonstrate my favorite piano plugin still is Keyscape, but even if I love the tone and playability of one piano, I have like 20 different pianos, and I use the one that I feel the tone and the room sound and so on suits the composition I'm working on. Just like guitarists have like 20 guitars on the wall, you become sort of a fanatic when you really love an instrument. So for me, that is pianos and string libraries the most. So I made it. You can see the chord progression up here, and this is how it sounds like solo. So I will stop there just so you wonder why it is so quiet. It's because it is supposed to blend with the volume. So if you have the full rest of the section, the basses, cellos, violas, and violins, so I'm simply muting the piano, those are obviously going to be heard much more than a piano in the same room in its real position of recording. So this is only the strings now. And I have even, I haven't added any reverb or anything. I just reduced a bit just to make the piano come through a bit more. But I mean, I could put this on 100% if I want to. That simply means the piano will be hidden even more. So now, if I add the piano to this, just listen to this entire piece. And you will hear that it sits there in the back and adds that a bit of rhythmic interest from the piano. So without. Okay, so this is not mixed or mastered in any way. I just added a slight platinum digital compressor in Logic just to tame the peaks. And now let's listen to this entire short composition with the BBC piano. I'm actually going to turn these down again a bit because they were a bit, I wanted to make it more of a warm piece, and Viola can stick out a bit too much, and this is how it sounds like. I mean, BBC Symphony Orchestra is actually still my go-to, especially for the strings. I have cinematic studio series strings, a flatus strings, and a bunch of more Berlin strings. But I often reach for the BBC Symphony Orchestra, especially they have that sweet sound that's not too close but not too big, and I can add reverb to it if I want to. And now, if you just demonstrate the piano and just listen to it in combination with, let's say, the basses and cellos, just so you can hear how they blend together. And you can hear it also if we take the violas and violins, no bass. Okay, so you might think that, well, if you have another piano, just dial in the correct reverb, put it in the room, volume balance with a fader, well, EQ and so on for the tone. Well, of course, you can do that, but as a composer, you want that workflow, and you just want to, you don't want to, it's the same with drum libraries, just searching preset of the preset for the correct snare drum. It is exhausting. This way, you get a piano that's, like, it's not so much that it's better than any other piano in my collection, because it's really not, but it blends so well together with this particular orchestra, the BBC Symphony Orchestra. So if you already have the core version of BBCSO, then this complements it very well. So let me just demonstrate. This is the exact same part with Keyscape, which is my number one favorite piano plugin, and I'm saying that 100% truth. But if you listen to this, same part, I just copied the MIDI. It has much more present sound there, a bit more oomph in the low end, but the overall, the room tone, the response in the dynamics, it doesn't blend as well. So if I use that now, listen. It doesn't blend. It doesn't mix together the colors. I don't know how to put it any other way, because even if it's a bit louder, but if I reduce it a bit, it's still just, it's like a piano added to the strings, not recorded in the same space and room and volume balance. It just isn't the same as and if you still think it's a bit too buried in the mix, it's supposed to be, first of all, again, that's something I actually started enjoying more and more, because most plugin manufacturers and sample libraries just maximum volume, especially Omnisphere, Keyscape and stuff, and Spectrophonics. I love them. They make amazing, some of my most used plugins, my favorite plugins. But if I compare it to some others like East West and this one, the Spitfire, they VSL, they volume balance. So if you add a solo harp in the back of the hall and play that in your DAW, added to the orchestra, it is supposed to be quiet. I mean, go to real orchestra and you will hear it. So, I mean, yes, it is quiet. You can still, if you want to, like, you ramp it up here, or actually in the plugin itself, you have a volume controller. I'm usually more of a fan of doing it here. Like, let's put it up 4 dB, and it will stick out a bit more, but still blend beautifully. So basically, those are my thoughts. If you already have 20 piano plugins or something like that, perhaps I have more, 25 or something, but I have like 5 or 6 go-to plugins, and this will not be my go-to plugin for another orchestra, but if I use the BBCSO, this one here, then I think this will be my go-to piano because of how much time I will save in blending it all together, making the tone fit, the room fit, the volume balance, the spatial positioning, and all those things that are almost impossible, or at least very hard to do manually with EQ, reverb, or whatever you need to do to put them to balance everything well together. Okay, so that is BBC Symphonic Orchestra Piano. I have the core version of both of these. Sometime in the future, I will probably upgrade to the professional version, because the one downside here with the core version is that you don't get any extra microphones. You only have the core mix. The advantage, as I said, is that you don't have to waste time trying out different mic positions and blending. It will fit together. It is how they chose to mix the microphones for this main mic. All right, BBC Symphony Orchestra Piano. Share your thoughts and views about what you think about this and what you learned from my views and thoughts of using this in a comment below, and I will see you in the next video, my friends.